Hello everybody, and a big warm welcome to Anxiety Uncovered, the podcast that inspires young people to manage anxiety and for the adults who want to empower them to succeed. I'm Joe Roundtree, stand-up comedian, presenter, and now anxiety specialist for young people. 15 years ago, I was mugged on the streets of Barcelona, an experience that left me battling chronic anxiety, PTSD and OCD for many years. I eventually reached out, and thanks to the incredible support from family, friends, and the amazing team at the Maudsley Hospital Centre for Anxiety, extensive therapy, and my background in psychology, I found a way through it. Now, I'm here to help you do the same. So come and join the conversation, have a listen, a laugh, and learn everything you need to know to transform your anxiety into your biggest strength. I'll see you inside. Hello everybody, and welcome back to episode 4 of Anxiety Uncovered. Before we start, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to every single one of you who has listened so far, who's liked the show, followed it, shared with someone that they care about, friend, family member, and also those people that have left a review as well. It's been so nice to hear from you, and it really does mean a lot. So please keep those coming. And if there's anything you want to hear more of, less of, if there's any themes or topics related to anxiety that you want me to delve into, then please get in touch. This is your podcast. And yeah, it'd be great to hear from you. So how did you get on with your rejection therapy challenge from episode 1? The reason I ask is because I've had a few messages, and one in particular I want to share with you from someone called Laura. And she said, I'm just going to read it out. Can I speak to Greg? This made me howl. Me and my mates went out and did some of our own rejection therapy. At first it was nerve-wracking, but it felt easier the more shops we went into. Good, climbing that exposure ladder. We did the breathing techniques beforehand, which really helped. Nice one. And I love this bit. I went into Claire's accessories, asked an assistant if I could speak to Claire. Then she turned around and brought out the manager, who was actually called Claire. It was so awkward. It's brilliant. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that shop. So yeah, if you went out and flexed your bravery muscles, I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you did, where you went, and how it felt. And if you can record yourself doing your rejections on your phone or maybe on a secret hidden microphone, then send it in, and I can share some of your rejections in future episodes. So get in touch via the socials. All the info's in the show notes. This week, we're asking the big question. Why do we experience anxiety? Ever feel like your own brain is working against you? Even when you're just trying to do something good for yourself, like, I don't know, get fitter or be more confident, revise, socialize, or just simply getting your backside out of bed to go to school or go to work. In this episode, we're digging into why anxiety shows up even when there's no real danger, and how even the inner critic, the inner critic, that little voice inside your head that tells you that you're not good enough, that you're rubbish, that no one likes you, why are you doing a podcast, no one's going to listen to it. Even that inner voice, that inner critic, thinks it's protecting you. So let's unpack what's really going on. What if anxiety isn't a problem at all? What if anxiety is actually a survival superpower passed down through generations to keep us alert, to train us, teach us, or maybe just keep us one step ahead of the game? The same system that helped our ancestors escape real danger might just be doing its very best just to help you, me, everyone navigate modern life in this mad and crazy world. So before we dive into today's episode, I want to acknowledge something really important. And it's this. Anxiety doesn't just have one cause. There are many layers to it. And we'll unpack those in future episodes. But today, and I'm really excited about this, we're going back to our evolutionary roots, to where it all began, to our earliest days as humans, to explore why anxiety exists in the first place. You know what really helps me when anxiety kicks in? Something that really works, and I hope it helps you too, is this. Whenever I feel anxiety creeping in, followed by the inevitable spiral of anxious thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, I just pause and I ask myself, why? Why am I feeling, thinking, and behaving this way? Not just what triggered it today in the here and now, but from a deeper, more ancient, evolutionary perspective. Because I believe if we can uncover that, it can explain a whole lot about why we do what we do, think what we think, and feel what we feel. And it just makes things just a lot more easier to understand. And you actually go easier on yourself as well. Because here's the thing, anxiety reminds me, and it should remind us all, that at our cores, we're just mammals. I'm an animal. I'm not an organism built for perfection. I'm built for survival. I'm basically just a chimpanzee in a tracksuit who gets an inordinate amount of pleasure from scratching his own back. I do love a good back scratch. My favourite implements, kitchen fork from the cutlery drawer, which I do clean and put back, promise. And my back brush. Oh, my back brush. One of life's simple, free luxuries. Ah, good old back scratch. And it's scientifically true that we share more than 98% of our genes with two species of chimpanzee. So we're literally just the third species of chimpanzee. And when I just remind myself that I'm just a chimp born to survive and stay alive, then I just go a little bit easier on myself. I try not to take life and myself too seriously, because that's just what I am. So when anxiety creeps in, it helps remind me of something really simple, that my brain's number one job is not to make me happy, confident, rich, or get a million, billion, zillion followers on TikTok. My brain's job isn't even to produce accurate thoughts or balanced feelings. Its number one job is just to keep you and me and everyone alive. Full stop. Everything else, things like happiness, purpose, success, those are bonus features, and they require effort, unfortunately. Oh, effort. Oh, really? Yeah, they require self-awareness and learning how to work with the very basic brain that we've inherited. Negative thinking, over-analyzing, caring what other people think, things that most of us experience to a greater or lesser extent. These things are not flaws. They're not problems. They're just survival tools designed to keep us safe in a world where real threats are everywhere. And you know what? When I started to see anxiety as a protective mechanism and not as a personal weakness, something shifted. It was a real paradigm shift. I stopped fighting it and I started to work with it. I started to redirect that energy into what I actually wanted: growth, confidence, happiness. And I still have to remind myself on a daily basis when anxiety creeps in, because it does have an insidious way of creeping in, that even when it does feel overwhelming, anxiety isn't trying to sabotage me. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's just your ancient brain doing its ancient job, doing its ancient thing, trying to keep you and me safe and your body and work in order. That's it. It's not trying to stop you and me from reaching our goals. It just wants to make sure that we stay alive long enough to maybe achieve them. That's it. So sometimes it's going to throw up worst case scenarios, worries, warnings, what ifs. It's going to dredge up painful memories and even make up stories just in case, because it genuinely thinks it's helping. I'll give you an example. So I don't know, this has happened to me quite a lot. You know, when maybe you're thinking about going to a party or you're going out and bam, your brain flashes back. The inner critic comes in and reminds you of all that one hurtful comment. Remember that hurtful comment way back when? And it brings this up, not because it wants to ruin your night, but because it's just saying, hey, remember that last time? That last time we went out, someone said something horrible, that hurt, didn't it? So should we avoid that again? Yeah, let's avoid it. Let's just stay here. And it's not being mean. It's just running old survival code. But here's the thing. If you're not aware this is happening, and a lot of us aren't, we just believe our thoughts and we just accept them as true and we go along with it and go, well, yeah, that was horrible. I'm going to stay in. If you're not aware of it, you might believe the thought is true, that you really are in danger, and then cancel your plans and not go out. And that's really sad, even though that was never your brain's intention. it just came across that way. So what can you do in that moment? Well, I've got good at this over the years. I talk to my brain like you would a well-meaning, overprotective friend. Yeah, you're in a critic, your brain, that little voice. I'll give it a name. Give it a name. Mine's called Jeff. Yeah, Jeff. He's a bit dramatic. Yeah, always telling me stories and warning me against things, trying to keep me small. Jeff, aren't you? So I'll say, look, yeah, all right, Jeff, there you are. Hello. All right, Jeff, how you doing? You all right, mate? Yeah. Look, we didn't really need to relive that moment, did we, Jeff? But I get it. You're just trying to protect me. Yeah, that did happen, Jeff, but that was one time. Chances are it won't happen again. And if it does, Jeff, Joe will deal with it. Joe is not cancelling his life over that one hurtful comment. And that kind, calm, realistic, and it's called distant self-talk, is reminding your brain that you're in charge now and not the caveman with a club. So the inner critic is Jeff, the inner coach is Joe. And when you talk to yourself in that third person, Joe will deal with it. Not I will deal with it, first person, but Joe. That technique has so much more power because you're Joe, the inner coach. Jeff is the inner critic. So you get distance from it. And it teaches you that your thoughts don't have to be in control and that you do have power over them. So now I just try to observe my anxiety through a survival lens and just do my best. Don't always get it right. Just not to attach too much emotion to it. There's a great book by a great man called Joe Dispenza. Book's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he talks about the idea that a memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. And I love that. And whether you fully agree with the approach or not, I find that idea really helpful for anxiety because it's true. When you can replay an anxious memory without reliving all the emotion attached to it, it's just a memory. And from that, we can often gain perspective, maybe even a little bit of wisdom. So observing anxiety through a hunter-gatherer perspective is just so much more helpful. It's like this, right? Your brain, it's the computer, it's the hardware. And one of the main bits of software running on it is just basic survival software. Our brains are running caveman code on a Tik Tok timeline. I love that. I'm very proud of this. We are running prehistoric programming, trying to deal with group chats and DMs and real life drama, online drama. So no wonder it glitches because there's too much going on for our basic survival software to deal with. But the good news is, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. There's not a virus. We don't need fixing. We don't need to uninstall the system. It'd be good if we could uninstall it sometimes, but we can't. It's the brain that we've inherited. We just need to learn how to update it so it doesn't crash every time life throws up an annoying pop-up. Because when I see it that way, anxiety doesn't control me anymore. I can sit with it. I can observe it. I can tolerate it without defense and respond to it instead of reacting to it. And yeah, I think this is all about acceptance as well. This is just accepting that is just the way your brain is. And when I say acceptance, this isn't like just accept it, man, and just like, learn to love it. No, you don't have to love it. You don't have to like it. It's just accepting that is just the way it is. And when I experience the annoying pop-up, the annoying voice, we can just use simple strategies to calm it down. Maybe distant self-talk, talking to yourself in the third person. Really good technique. Because what's the goal here in all this? Remember, my main call to action with this podcast is not just to survive, it's to help you, to remind me, to help everyone understand how our brains work on a very basic fundamental level. And we're never taught this at school. And once we understand it, we can actually navigate life more wisely and we can give ourselves a bit more permission just to be happy and thrive and just to give ourselves a pat on the back and say, you know what? You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And this approach has helped me so much navigate this mad and crazy world with just a bit more logic and self-awareness and a little bit more kindness, not just towards myself, but towards everyone else too, because we're all going through this and a lot of us don't understand it. So you have to have a sense of compassion towards the people that maybe don't. And I don't always get it right by any stretch. I'm a work in progress, just like everyone else. But yeah, I think it's important to talk about it and have these conversations, because that's what I'm passionate about. So over the course of episode 4 and 5, I'm going to be unpacking the top 10 evolutionary reasons why we experience anxiety. And make sure you stick around until the end for my top takeaway of the week from my anxiety busting toolkit. So why do we experience anxiety? Number one, well, we've already discussed this a little bit, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper into it. It's a survival superpower. Your brain cares more about survival than happiness. So it's a mechanism that we've inherited from our past, and it's been hardwired into the human brain for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. And I think that's phenomenal. It's crazy when you think about it. So let's imagine a scenario. So you're an ancient hunter-gatherer living thousands of years ago. No phones, imagine that. No school, hooray. No comfy houses or Netflix. Instead of widescreen TVs, you've just got wide open spaces, wild animals, and a constant need to survive. So you're out in the forest searching for food when suddenly you hear a rustling in a bush. Could be the wind, or it could be a predator. Your brain doesn't take any chances. Your brain is always going to assume the worst. It's called the better safe than sorry rule. It kicks in. It's a lurking predator. It's got to be better safe than sorry. So instantly what happens? Your heart races, your muscles tense, and your senses sharpen, and your body screams, run, fight, hide. That's anxiety in action. The fight or flight. You've heard of this before, right? The fight or flight, also known as the fight, flight, freeze, flop, or fawn response. Yeah, aka the brain's built-in survival mode. So what happens in your brain when this happens? Well, on a very basic level, your amygdala, which is your brain's fear center, hits the panic button, and it just floods your body with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which speeds up your heart. What happens then? This sends oxygen to your muscles, makes you breathe faster for more energy, tenses your muscles so you're ready to move. Digestion, that pauses because eating isn't a priority in an emergency. If a lion is lurking, this response is going to save your life. Lucky you, you get to live another day because you've legged it. You get to live another day sunbathing on the savannah, living the vida loca. But in today's world, what happens? The same alarm system kicks in when you see a creepy stranger approaching, or you just feel a bit uneasy in an unfamiliar place. Maybe you're stressing over a test or a social situation. Your body reacts in the same way, leaving you feeling shaky, sweaty, or restless, like you're being stalked by a lion. But the good news, you can actually train your brain to recognize this, calm down, and regulate your emotions, and engage logic and reason, which is what I did after getting stabbed in Barcelona. This happened 15 years ago. And yeah, I've not really talked about this much publicly since my days in therapy. I talk about it in my workshops when I go into the schools, but I think about it every day. And I think it's important to share this because, well, I hope it will help others. So I'll tell you the story about what happened. So 15 years ago, I was on a stag do in Barcelona. I was out late at night in an area called Las Ramblas, and I made a big mistake. I wandered off from my mates. Don't ever do that. Stay together if you're out, especially in a foreign country. And I was a little bit tipsy. I was in fancy dress, and I was wearing a gold chain. It's quite an expensive chain, actually. I got it from my grandma, who gave it to me as a confirmation present. And essentially, because I was wearing it and it was flapping about, I made myself a target. And before I knew it, someone tried to grab me, and I resisted slightly. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, these 4 lads surrounded me, and one of them hugged me, which was nice. But yeah, it wasn't a hug. He stabbed me. He stabbed me in the leg and the back. And the police said it was likely knuckle knives. And yeah, I passed out on the cobbles of Las Ramblas, just bleeding out. I remember just the blood just coursing down the cracks in the cobbles. And the last thing I remember was being lifted into an ambulance, and I woke up in the Delmar Hospital. and they were putting me into an MRI scanner machine to check for spinal damage. And by some miracle, the knife had missed my spine by less than an inch. My mates had no idea where I was. My phone, my wallet, everything was stolen. And after ringing around all the hospitals and police stations, my mates eventually found me in hospital, half dressed as Where's Wally. Couldn't make it up, could you? I can laugh about it now, but in the days, weeks, and months after, I was, as you can imagine, in quite a bad way. Pretty traumatized. PTSD, panic attacks, OCD, and avoidance. Massive amount of avoidance. I got phobias of needles, because I'd convinced myself that someone had injected me with something more sinister, a disease or a poison, and my mind, it went to some pretty dark places. It got to a point where I just looked forward to going to sleep and not wanting to wake up, really, because to be awake was to think, and the thinking was just it was just relentless. It was like a bully that just wouldn't leave me alone, just constant, like, jabbering of just, of how much of an idiot you were, and just like all the things that were happening to your body, and just like, yeah, really, really insidious self-talk. And I was trapped in this vicious anxiety cycle. My body was tense and on high alert the whole time, and sleep really was the only time my mind would get some rest. And after that, I couldn't walk down a high street at night without feeling on edge. Just the thought of it was pretty overwhelming. Small groups of men, again, seeing them, even thinking about it, triggered panic attacks. I started avoiding going to gigs and social events, making excuses. If I had to perform, I'd park right outside the venue or get dropped off at the stage door to avoid high streets and small groups of men. My brain wasn't broken, it was just trying to protect me. It had learned, through getting stabbed, that high streets and small groups of men meant danger. So it activated anxiety as a survival tool, telling me to stay away. But over time, I recognized that this was a problem, and it was holding me back. And like I say, my workshops, for many years, I stayed quiet and silent. It took me 20 seconds of insane courage to ask for help and go to my GP and admit that I was really struggling. So with the help of a therapist, the amazing people at the Maudsley Hospital in South East London, at the Centre for Anxiety Disorders and Traumas, I, with their help, had to retrain my brain step by step with relaxation techniques and repeated exposure to learn that the high street and small groups of men wasn't in fact dangerous. And this took time. Systematic desensitization is also another name for it. So first, I sort of imagined walking down the high street and breathed through it, and did that a few times. Then I looked at pictures of high streets, and next I walked near one. Eventually, over the course of weeks and months, I actually walked down a high street, and then I walked through a dimly lit high street, which was the thing that would. And even now, just talking about that, it's sort of making me feel a little bit on edge. But I'm aware of it. I know what's going on. It's just survival kicking in. Breathe through it. Whew. The real breakthrough was when I was able to walk up a high street at night, up to a small group of men, and ask them for the time. It was terrifying at first, but I realized through repeated exposure and expert guidance from my therapist that the high street wasn't a life or death situation. My brain had been treating it like the rustling bushes that we talked about at the beginning that might hide a predator. It was treating it like a real fire, when in reality, it was just the wind. It was just burnt toast. What I learned through relaxation techniques and repeated exposure is that anxiety wasn't the enemy. It was just my built-in survival superpower kicking into action. But sometimes we just need to teach it and train it when to stand down. All right, so that was number one. Anxiety, a survival superpower. Number two, why do we experience anxiety? Because your brain loves the negative stuff. Thanks to the negativity bias. Ever met a real neged? Yeah, you have. A real mood hoover, someone that just saps the joy out of every situation, a fun sponge. You know these people? Yeah. Chances are these people have been taken over by the negativity bias. So here's the deal. Your brain, our brains, are hardwired to focus on threats way more than positives, like way more. It's been estimated that 80% of our thoughts are negative thoughts and 90% are repetitive. Can definitely relate to that. Basically, our brains are just running on constant loops of what ifs and worst case scenarios. Why? Because back in the day, remembering danger kept us alive. If your ancestor ate a weird berry and got sick, their brain was like, hey, never again. I'm not eating that weird, wild, red, prickly berry because it makes me skin go all purple and makes me itch and gives me weird pins and needles. That kind of caution literally meant survival. Fast forward to now, one rude comment about your appearance at a party can stick in your brain like glue. Even if 10 people were really nice and lovely and said something kind and complimentary about your appearance, you could go out 100 times and get no weird looks, no horrible comments. But your brain's always like, yeah, but Joe, remember that one time? Yeah, let's focus on that one. I remember when I was younger, and this was probably well over 20 years ago, my brother told me that I had a big nose. Yeah, honestly, I'd obsess over it. And I'd stare in the mirror, fully convinced I had a horrible nose and I needed a nose job. Just that one little comment. And even now, sometimes that old comment pops back up again. Either now when I catch my reflection or when I see my brother, it's like a little mental pop-up like, it's your brother, big nose alert. But the difference now is, and this is taking years of practice, I don't react to it, just notice it. I don't attach any emotion to it. I don't argue with it. I don't let it spiral. I just observe the thought and let it pass. No defense, no drama. And weirdly, that tiny little shift, total game changer. I think it's also because I'm older and I care less. I just laugh at the thought with no emotional charge and move on. I just recognize that my brain, it's not trying to annoy me. It's not trying to hurt me. It genuinely thinks that comment about my nose is trying to protect me. And sometimes you just need to tell the thought, the inner critic, just to chill out. You just need to tell Jeff, chill out, Jeff, just do one. My nose is fine. My nose is perfect. It's the one that I was born with. And you just leave my nose alone. Thank you very much. Keep your nose out of it. All right. So number 3, why do we experience anxiety? The fear of the unknown. Uncertainty feels a bit like a threat. So let's talk about something your brain absolutely hates. And we all hate this. We don't like uncertainty. We loathe it because your brain would much rather deal with a known problem than sit in the unknown. We've all experienced this, not knowing the outcome of something. Oh, it can be horrible. So we go into worry, don't we? Why? Because back in the day, not knowing what was around the corner could have meant stepping into danger, literally. You didn't know if there was a wild animal waiting in the bushes or if the next group of people you met were going to welcome you or try to kill you. So yeah, your brain learned early on, uncertainty equals threat, uncertainty equals danger. And fast forward to now, that same survival response kicks in when you're waiting for an exam result, maybe starting a new school or sending a risky, hey, text to someone that you like and you're waiting for a reply, especially when you can see the red 2 blue ticks. You're like, oh, come on. It's that uncertainty of what do they think? And, oh, are they going to respond? And, oh, they probably hate me. Your brain doesn't care that it's not life or death. It just wants to be prepared for every possible outcome, even if it means dragging you into a full-blown overthinking spiral at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's like this. So your brain Jeff might say, hey, what if it all goes wrong and you fail your exams? Then your brain fires up, doesn't it, with all the usual suspects, like the catastrophizing, the black and white thinking, worst case scenario modes. The full anxious playlist. These are called cognitive distortions, and I'll do a whole episode on these, because the first time I realized that these were just thoughts that we all have, I was like, wow, other people have these thoughts as well? Not just me? Huh, I thought I was a weirdo. Oh, hallelujah, other people are human as well. But now when these sorts of thoughts show up, for example, what happens if it all goes wrong? What happens if I fail my exams? I tried to meet these thoughts. I tried to meet Jeff with a bit of, yeah, all right, anxiety, all right, Jeff, but what if I don't fail my exams? What if it doesn't all go wrong? Because you know what? Worrying doesn't actually change the outcome of anything. Don't worry. The outcome will still be the same. If you revised and you did your best, then worrying won't change the result. The result will still be the same with or without worry. It's a great quote I heard the other day. It was, worrying about something that you can't control is like paying a debt to someone that you don't owe. How many times do we just worry and worry and worry, and it's just pointless? The truth is, your brain is just doing what it's always done. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to crave certainty in an uncertain world. And it doesn't fully understand that. Sometimes uncertainty can actually be quite useful. Not knowing it can actually be helpful if you use it in a helpful way. It can help us with things like planning and preparing and problem solving. But you leave it unchecked, I know, it can spiral into panic and anxiety. It's just about being aware that our brains have a natural tendency to view uncertainty as a threat, because that's how our ancestors had to live. All right, moving on. Why do we experience anxiety? Number 4, internal conflict and authenticity. This is an interesting one. Anxiety can actually signal when you're not being yourself. So sometimes anxiety shows up not because something's happening to you, but because you're not really being you. Ever experienced this? Your brain and body can sense when you're not being yourself, when you're not being genuine, when you're not being authentic. Your brain can actually pick up when you're not acting in line with your values. Like maybe when you say or you do something just to please other people, to fit in. We've all done that. It's like you're in a compass starts buzzing. Jeff starts saying, hey, what? This is this really us? I don't think this is you. Back in the day, being genuine and trustworthy was key, especially in small tribes. If you pretend to be someone you weren't, people stop trusting you. And that could seriously mess with your chances of staying in the group. So, quantum leap to the modern day. This is like when you pretend to maybe like something just to be accepted, or when you get swept up in gossip that doesn't just sit quite right with you. And I've done it before. I'll tell you what, it happens all the time in pantos. When you're around a small, close-knit, tight-knit group of people, it's easy to get caught up in gossip just to fit in. And honestly, it just doesn't feel good. I don't like it. Now, I avoid it like the plague, because I've realized if someone's happy to talk badly about others to me, chances are they're probably doing the same, or would do the same about me when I'm not around. And when I ignore it, that gut feeling of just going along with it, that's when the anxiety kicks in. It's like my brain saying, hey, Joe, this isn't who we are. So sometimes, yeah, anxiety's good. If you feel a bit fizzy, a little bit like, whoa, a bit tense when you say something, do something, probably giving you a bit of a authenticity check. So check in, ask yourself, why? Why am I feeling like this? Why am I behaving like this? Okay, number 5, and this is going to be the last one in episode 4. Why do we experience anxiety? Evolutionary fear of social judgment. Being watched feels like a threat. Of course it does. Ever feel like someone's staring at you when you walk into a room? Maybe they are. Maybe they're just looking right at you. But, or maybe you get like a mini heart attack before a presentation or posting on social media. Your brain sees being observed as risky, because back in small tribal communities, being judged, especially in a negative way, could lead to exclusion. And again, exclusion equals danger. Again, this feeds into the whole public speaking thing as well, like the fear of rejection, social judgment, all that sort of stuff. It's the number one biggest fear. So in the modern day, worrying about how you come across during a class presentation or maybe a group chat with your peers or just when someone looks at your Instagram story, even though you posted it, I've done this before, you post something and you think, oh, I wonder if people like it or not. Then you start questioning, worrying about it, whether you should have posted it or not. And you convince yourself that they don't like it, maybe because they haven't got as many likes or as views as you want. And you end up taking it down. That fear of judgment, totally normal. Just your ancient brain doing its ancient thing. Yeah. So fear of judgment, fear of social rejection. That's a biggie. So that's it. We're going to finish up there. So in this episode, we have started just to crack open the mystery of anxiety and ask the big question, what if it's not a flaw? What if it's not a problem, but a survival superpower? And we've covered the 5 top survival-based reasons why anxiety shows up. We looked at our brains caring more about survival than happiness, our brains clinging to negativity like Velcro, thanks to the negativity bias. We looked at the hate of uncertainty and why our brain gets twitchy when you're not being authentic, and also how your brain freaks out when people might be watching you. And remember, and this is the important thing to remember with all this, you are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain, your body is just trying to keep you alive long enough to maybe reach those goals. Okay, time now for my top takeaway of the week from my anxiety busting toolkit. Drum roll, please. This is a powerful one. It's called distant self-talk, and it's backed by science. Athletes, performers, students, and even people like me use it when they feel stressed, under pressure, and anxious. Now, I've talked about it a little bit in this episode. So first up, let me tell you what it is. Then I'll explain how to do it. There's also a PDF you can download in the show notes. So if you want to go through the technique in your own time, at your own pace, head to the show notes. So what is it? When we're anxious, our inner critic kicks in with thoughts like, I can't do this. What if I fail? Everyone's looking at me. Work, school, it's too much. I just can't face it today. I can't go in. Ah! The problem? That kind of self-talk keeps us stuck. We get caught up inside the anxiety, too close to the problem to see clearly. Distant self-talk is about stepping back and talking to yourself like a coach or a good friend would. And here's the fun part. You get to give your inner critic a name. As you know, mine's called Jeff. He's whiny, dramatic, and always panicking. And I give him a silly voice too, so he feels less powerful and a lot easier to ignore. Naming your anxious inner critic and giving it a silly voice helps you realize something really important. That voice isn't you. It's just one part of you. It's just one part of your mind. And you get to choose whether to listen to it or talk back. You decide if it's helpful and how you want to respond. So when Jeff says stuff like, you're freaking out, you're rubbish, you can't do it, I could say something like, relax, Jeffrey. Joe's done tougher stuff than this before. You can do it, Joe. Now, Jeff, go off, have a biscuit, go sit on the bench. Sounds silly, but here's the science. Using your name and saying you instead of I creates distance in your brain. Joe's done tougher stuff before. You can do it, Joe. It shifts you into a calmer, more rational mindset. Research by Dr. Ethan Cross at the University of Michigan shows that distant self-talk helps reduce stress and improve performance. Now, you're not pretending the anxiety doesn't exist. You're just not letting it take the microphone. It's a more playful and powerful way to deal with your inner critic instead of being taken over by it. So let me walk you through how to use it step by step with a few examples. Now, before you start challenging any anxious thinking, it's important to always change your body first. Dr. Russell Kennedy, in his book, Anxiety RX, says, you can't think your way out of a feeling problem. I love that. You can't think your way out of a feeling problem. So what do? We start off with a bit of slow breathing because this switches on your parasympathetic nervous system. Think para, like parachute. It helps you slow down, come back down to ground. It brings your heart rate down to rest, to calm, and reset. So start off breathing gently through your nose and breathe out a little longer through your mouth. It's like pulling the brake on anxiety. Please, please, please don't skip the breathing bit. It makes every technique work so much better. So here it is, distant self-talk, a step-by-step guide. Step 1, just notice the thought. You might hear thoughts and Jeff muttering things like, I can't do this. What if I fail? Everyone's looking at me. School, work, it's too overwhelming. I can't go in today. Ah! Step 2, pause and step back. Take a breath and say to yourself, I'm noticing I'm having this anxious thought right now. Jeff's turned up again. This short pause gives you space. You're observing the thought and not drowning in it. Step 3, now here's the important part. Talk to yourself like a coach would. A coach would say your name and say you instead of I. This helps your brain step back from the panic and helps you feel more in control. So let me give you some examples. Example number 1, anxious inner critic thought could be, I can't do this. What if I fail? Ah! Your coach response could be, hello, Jeff. Thanks for your help. Thanks for turning up. But Joe doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to try. You've handled tough stuff before, Joe. Just give it your best. And that's enough. Example number 2. Anxious inner critic thought could be, everyone's looking at me. They're staring. They're all judging me. Ah! Coach response could be, hello again, Jeff. Joe, come on. People are too busy thinking about themselves. Just breathe. Focus on what you need to do, not what others are thinking, Joe. Example 3, anxious inner critic thought could be, school, work, it's too overwhelming. I can't go in today. Ah! Coach response, oh, great. It's Jeffrey bloody Dahmer again. Classic Jeff. Right, Joe. Yes, it does feel a lot right now, but you can take it one step at a time. Take it slow. Break it down. Get dressed, eat breakfast, brush your teeth, then see how you feel. You've got this, Joe. Step 4, speak kindly and get perspective. You could picture your coach voice as the kinder and wiser version of you, maybe standing on a balcony, calmly observing the whole situation from above. And remind yourself, Joe, it's just a thought. You don't have to believe everything your brain says. Step 5, repeat as needed. Do this anytime anxiety shows up. Now, it's not going to make nerves vanish completely, but it will help you handle them so much better. And the more you practice, the easier it gets. Practice makes, you got it. Progress, percentages. Good luck. Join me next week for episode 5, where I'll be uncovering the remaining 5 evolutionary reasons why we experience anxiety. I'll see you inside. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Anxiety Uncovered. Be sure to stay tuned for future episodes and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed the show and you think others would too, I'd be really grateful if you could recommend it and we can grow this community together. To get in touch or follow on social media, check out the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have ideas for future episodes or topics related to anxiety that you'd like to learn more about, please get in touch and I'll dedicate those episodes to you. If you need help right now, please speak up, even if it feels hard. Talk to a trusted adult, friend, or family member. It took me just 20 seconds of insane courage to go to the doctor and ask for help after putting it off for many years, and it honestly saved my life. For additional support, consider free online resources like Anxiety UK, which offers confidential help, or Shout, SHOUT, a free 24/7 text service for anyone in the UK who's struggling. And if you're outside the UK, I highly recommend the website adda.org. I'm your host, Joe Rowntree. It's been a pleasure. And until next time, big love, Godspeed, and amor fati.